All right, a little bit about the gentleman who needs there's two gentlemen that need no introduction, but I'm gonna take a stab at it anyways. The first gentleman is sort of Mr. Miami, especially this weekend. I have no idea how he does it. I thought I had a busy schedule. He probably has 50-something events in 4 or 5 days. The gentleman who is the Chief Communications Officer for Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits, and is also the founder of South Beach Wine and Food Festival and New York Wine and Food Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Lee Schrager.
Thanks, Pablo. Good morning, everybody. So rather than going into a long, I'll never read this. Rather than going into a long introduction for this chef who needs no introduction, I want to say two things. When I decided that I wanted to add, to honor Massimo at our tribute dinner this year, I said to my team, listen, our people come for Food Network talent. You know, Rachel and Bobby and Giada and Gordon and all those people. I said, this is going to be a great year, an iconic year, but we're never going to sell the same amount of tickets as we do for Food Network personalities. I said, it's a different audience. So I said, if we sell 300 or 400 tickets, it's going to be great. We want it to be an intimate dinner. So from the day we went on sale, I said, boy, was I wrong. This dinner has the tribute dinner tonight, and we've honored everyone from Alain Ducasse, Jean-Georges, to Ferran Adria, to Nobu, to Bobby Flay, you name it, we've honored them. Has been our best-selling tribute dinner, not only obviously because of the chef that we're honoring, Massimo Bottura, but the lineup of talent that Massimo put together to cook the dinner this evening. There will never be a dinner like this again at the festival ever. So if you're coming tonight, you're lucky. We have Alain Ducasse cooking, Albert Adria, Jordi Roca, Mauro Carlo Greco. It is the most extraordinary lineup. And then when you add the honoree who put this together, Massimo Bottura, he made every ask. I would never have gotten these people. So Massimo made these asks himself. So, and I think the best way that I can recognize Massimo is to say that on Wednesday night of this week, I did a dinner to kick off the festival. I do one every year for friends and family, but this year I decided that I wanted to do one for the Miami Transplant Institute. I'm a donor. I gave my mom a kidney about exactly 8 years ago, and I wanted to do something for the center. And I, that afternoon, asked a friend if he would call Massimo to ask. They didn't want to do an auction at the dinner, but I asked him, I wanted to raise some additional money. It was $1,000 a person dinner. I didn't want to hit people up, but I said, you know what? Let's ask Massimo if he'll give us a reservation just for 2 people in his restaurant, which is the hardest reservation in the world. We asked Massimo, and he donated a dinner for 2 people in the kitchen at Osteria, Francescana, for 2 people with him joining you, and the dinner went for $50,000. So I want to thank Massimo for helping me raise the $50,000 above everything else for a dinner that honors, that kind of was a great way for me to thank the Transplant Institute for saving my mom's life. So it is my pleasure to bring up here for a brief conversation the greatest chef in the world, his 3-star restaurant in Modena. He has been on the top #1 restaurant in the world list twice. He needs no introduction. In my mind, the work that he does outside of the restaurant for his charity work is superior to the work that he does in the restaurant. So if you imagine the great work that he does and all the accolades, what he has done outside for food waste and so many other great organizations, there is no one like Massimo Bottura, and to honor him this year at the 23rd Festival is really probably one of the greatest honors of my festival, of doing this. So please welcome my friend Massimo Bottura.
Thank you. Thanks, Lee. Yeah. Actually, I was in the kitchen working, the other night, and because it was like 10 in the evening, and I saw a message, and I said, I said, what is laser? And I answered, of course.
No, I know.
Do it.
Thank you. That doesn't happen that often, that somebody answers. And, Massimo is one of those people that you can text, and he actually does answer a text, almost immediately. I'm going to get right into this because the chef is busy and I have to be someplace else. Believe it or not, I think Pablo said 50 events. We have 121 events. Yes, 38 today. So I stayed awake last night when I got back to the room and wrote these questions. I had seen the book, read the book earlier, went through it last night, so I hope these questions give justice and give credit to, in my mind, the greatest chef in the world, so I'm going to get right into it. Chef, what inspired you to combine the themes of slow food and fast cars in your book?
I don't know, it's like, it's something that this idea of to describe what is Modena, what is Emilia, is it came up to in my mind, 25 years ago, when I was hosting, a big dinner party for the Motor Valley event, and I was reflecting about, that still now in 2024 we are waiting 25 years before even taste the balsamic vinegar. Imagine that my daughter tasted her vinegar 2 years ago, and the old battery that my grandmother prepared for her when she was born. It's crazy, even if you wait 4 years, 5 years till the Parmigiano Reggiano with the perfect milk in the perfect season arrive at its best, it's like something, that it's incredible. On the other side, in 30 kilometers, so it's like 20 miles, you have Ducati, Lamborghini, Pagani, Maserati, Ferrari, and this new company called CPC is like super avant-garde company who does carbon fiber and created the most exclusive Aston Martin, Lotus, all in Modena, all in 20 miles place. I think it's here. Slow food, the fast car is here in my mind. As the Roman, they were saying in Latin, festina lente. Think very slowly and act very quick. So this is something that has been with me since ever. I was very, very, very young when my brothers they were taking me to the circuit in Modena to listen to the 8, 10 or 12 cylinder riding, and with this incredible noise. Actually, 3 minutes ago we were like on Collins, and Bernardo, my chef at Torno Subito here, heard this noise, and he said, what is this? I said, can you feel the noise at the end? It's kind of, it's an English car. It's like, it doesn't give any emotion, Yeah, I can tell stories about this kind of craziness and super hype vibe that is happening in Casa Maria Luigia. you know, with all these cars and things, all these passionate people. They come for art, for nature, for food, but for music, because first thing that we built is like this music room, as in my casa, is my home, you know. And but the funny one, the really super funny are like the stories about the cars and driving, you know, 1,000 horsepower car in the countryside of Modena. That's crazy.
Chef, your restaurant in Modena is known for its innovative approach to traditional Italian cuisine. How does the concept of slow food influence your culinary creations?
The concept of slow food is like really slow food, the movement created by Carlin Petrini, has always been in my mind. It's always been like that. For us in Modena, Modena is the heart of the food valley. So the food valley is between Parma, Reggio Emilia, Modena and Bologna. And in the area, the art is Modena. And you can see, you know, it's always been part of our DNA growing up, and you know, thinking about the obsession of the excellence in terms of tasting a prosciutto, or like cutting the Parmigiano Reggiano in their best, but also keep pushing. In the restaurant, we are pushing all our artisan farmers, fishermen, cheesemakers to make it better and better and better. Think about that, you know, the best Parmigiano in the world that has been prized in Paris as the best cheese in the world, to in 2022 from the French, Italian cheese, from the French, an Italian cheese. You know, is a Parmigiano Reggiano made with the milk from just the white cows. White cows was dismissed in the middle of the 60s, when there was this big economic boom in Italy, because the cheese company, they decided to double the production, just switching white cows with the black and white Frisona from Holland. But they didn't understand that the word, it's about excellence, it's about obsession for quality. And when the market stop asking for quantity, the white cows, they become the leader of the whole production in Modena, because the milk is half of the milk of the classic cows is completely concentrated in power and in a circle of the mouth. It's an umami, is like incredible, and you are able to age the cheese 3 years, like 36 months at least, 40, 50, 60 months, and the cheese tastes like extremely fresh. And this is a reflection that we did 25 years ago, and now the company, 3 people, is like the most successful one. It's like it's impossible to get that cheese, except if you're Osteria Francescana, of course.
Chef, did you grow up in Modena?
I was born in Modena and grew up in Modena.
You never wanted to leave?
I left at one point. I left and I started, you know, traveling all around. I lived 1 year in New York. I lived another year in Monte Carlo with Alain Ducasse. And, you know, I started traveling. Then I went back to Modena in 95, when my brother, in 94, when my brother told me that there was this small restaurant that I loved, always loved, called Osteria Francescana, for sale. And I've stayed there, but I kept traveling all the time. Before COVID, my life was like 150, 170 days a year on a plane, in places all over the world, you know, so it's like...
Your love of food, was your mom a great cook?
Yes, my mom was an incredible cook, because she loved to cook. My grandmother she wasn't a great cook. So take a note, you know, like I'm the first Italian who said that my grandmother was not a cook. You know, she wasn't a great cook because she had to cook.
Yeah,
It's
right.
different.
There is different. Yeah.
But when you read the stories in the book, the story about the breakfast, you know, when we start opening Casa Maria Luigia, we didn't know anything about hospitality, but the CEO at that time of Ferrari, it's called Sergio Marchionne, pushed me to do that. We need to have, you know, a place at the level of Francescana to keep our guests at least through 2-3 days here in Modena, to show them around. You know, you have to do it. Yeah, what I'm supposed to do, I don't know anything about, you know. And I found this casa, no? And I decided to call it casa and not hotel and not luxury and not boutique, you know, because casa is like my home. Come to my home. And everything we create around this name, casa, is the experience of being home. We treat everyone like home. And Maria Luigia is my mom. Because my mom, when I remember when we were kids, my mom always had the door open in a home, in this like big courtyard, and you know, all the friends of my large family, 5 brothers and sisters and aunt, and they were coming and going, and they were calling, my brothers called our home Hotel California. You know, there was always a refrigerator full, you know, always a place at the table ready for an unexpected guest, because it was like that. And you know, like, but my grandmother, she was amazing. Just one day a year, Christmas Day, she was waking up very early in the morning, like wood burn oven, and you know, she was preparing the old breakfast, you know, for the family. And you know, the breakfast was like start going like around 8, 9, 10. Till my mom was like, ready for lunch. So from breakfast we were moving to the table for lunch. And so I challenged our chef at Casa Maria Luigia, that she's Canadian, and Jessica. I said, you know, you really have to think about managing fire and the wood burn oven and create the same breakfast that my grandmother was create for me. So adding, of course, the touch of contemporary touch, you know, to being able to keep going, and because I want to give to all the guests the experience that was my experience at the Christmas Day. And you know, few months ago, the New York Times posted the big open the Wednesdays. You know,
the food section, right.
Best breakfast in the world, Casa Maria Luigia. You know, that was a big deal. You know, like finally we got recognized for our breakfast. That is like, to me, is like an incredible experience, and that's why we serve just a snack in the refrigerator and not lunch, because we want all our guests to experience breakfast till like 12, you know, till noon.
Well, speaking of the casa, talk about your wife. Where did you meet Lara?
I met Lara in New York. I was living in New York.
Was she in the restaurant business?
No. She was acting. You know, all New Yorkers are, you know, they're like waiting tables or behind the bar, and they say, oh, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a this, I'm that. They never say, I'm waiting tables, you know. But, you know, to survive at that point, you know, you have to do something. And she was acting at the Worcester Theater with this avant-garde, you know, Willem Dafoe, you know, in Worcester Street. And you know, I was walking around Seoul. There was at that time there was no Starbucks, nothing. You know, no small coffee. You know, specialty. Yeah, I saw a Hilly Cafe sign. I said, oh, finally I'm gonna have a good espresso. You know, I walk into that place. The place was amazing, super Italian, super stylish with design and everything. And I asked for, you know, a macchiatone, means, you know, a double espresso with foamy milk. and it took like half an hour, you know, to get that macchiatone, and at the end the milk was all boiling, you know, it was a disaster. And I said, you know, if you need some help, I can come. I'm gonna leave my phone and call me. I'm gonna help you to do something different, you know. I went back home. I was living uptown on 76 and Central Park, and you know, I walk into the door and I push the answer machine, and he said, "Can you come tomorrow?" And tomorrow, the day after, I went there and I started switching between 2 and closing time, and but the same day, you know, Lara from that she was acting with this guy was working with us. It was working in Caffè di Nonna, you know, and he was saying, Lara, okay, apply for a job, you know, we need help, you know, just go, it's on the other side of the street. She walked into the door and she said, oh, I can bartend, I can do this, and she went back and she received the same message, come tomorrow. So we both walked into the Caffè di Nonna the day after, around 1:45. And you know, we start, and first thing was like, I went back before starting the first service, I went back behind the bar and I said, can I have a coffee? And she said, oh, who is this guy who's Italian, a little bit arrogant, who wants me to make the coffee? She was thinking that. And you know, I was like, as soon as she finished to whip the milk, I said, I'm sorry, I have to tell you, I have to teach you how to make the perfect things, because this is like, leave it on the side. So I was like trying to understand, trying to explain how you whip the milk without boiling to get just the milk foamy that goes inside the coffee and make the perfect thing. So it's like, this is good, you know. And then I went back in the kitchen. This was the first approach with Lara.
Was your family surprised when you brought home an American girl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, 3 days later, my mom called Lara and she said, come visit me. You know, we're gonna have a talk, a coffee or some tea. And she said, you know, Lara, to survive here with Massimo, I have to teach you how to make ragu. you know, the day after, you know, she went back home with my mom and they make ragu together, you know, in the perfect way, as I love when my mom does that. And, you know, this is fun because when Lara tells the story, it was like so fun. Yeah.
She's a big part of the business, though. Does she run?
Yeah, she's like, she's been always, you know, she's very into art. She studied as the University of Andover, you know, art, focusing on contemporary art, and you know, she was always conceptualizing what we are doing, because art has always been a thing, a passion that we share, and we know artists. Artists are part of our life all the time. And you know, she was like conceptualizing everything we do, you know, all our cooking. That is not just about create good food. It's much more, you know. It's like it's the idea of you know, contemporary cuisine to me is not just about the quality of the ingredients, but the quality of the ideas. And with ideas, you know, it's like you can go everywhere. Picasso was always saying, you know, copy yourself is a very sterile exercise. Stealing from the others is necessary, because you steal ideas, you transform into your ideas, and evolve everything you're doing.
You know, I find it interesting that Thomas Keller's wife's name is Laura.
Yeah.
And she's also very involved.
Italian. She's Italian.
Laura, no, Cunningham. Her name, her maiden name is. I don't think she's Italian.
I thought we did.
No,
we did
it's Cunningham, but she's also. She worked as a waitress, or actually a hostess for Thomas,
I love that.
And now she kind of is very involved.
I know it, but yeah.
I find it very interesting, both Laura, Lara, and both very involved and very, you know, artistic.
Yeah.
Your organization, Food for Soul, focuses on fighting food waste and promoting social inclusion. What inspired you to start this?
This is a long story, but to make it short, at one point of my life, when we reach everything, growing up in a place that is a very social place like Modena, Emilia in general, and we learn since we are kids that if we are together, we can be louder, we can be more powerful, even if we have a big competition between us. That's why probably it's such a, unique place in the world, with all this excellence in that place. Once you reach the top of everything, you ask yourself what you want, now. And there was a universal exposition. I keep saying that our restaurant are more than just simple restaurant. It's a Renaissance atelier. We create culture every day, consciousness, sense of responsibility. We are ambassador of our agriculture. We create gastronomic tourism. We train our chefs, thousands of chefs, and at the end, we are involved in social gesture. So at the Universal Exposition, the theme was Feed the Planet, Energy for Life in Milan, and all these delegation from all over the world, they were coming to Modena as soon as, Osteria Francescana was like 10 years the best restaurant in Italy, and they know that I'm very open-minded and open to big ideas, and so they were asking me what we should do, but just parties and things that they're not matching with their team. The team was much more deeper, feed the planet. So I start analyzing with Carlin Petrini from Slow Food the numbers, and we were at that time, we were like 7.5 billion people on the planet. We were producing food for 12 billion people. 860 million people, they didn't have anything to eat, and we were wasting 33% of what we produced. So we were pushing and stressing the planet to use water, electricity, human capital to produce food that at one point, instead of being used to be to feed the people, we were burning it. We were wasting and burning it, and we became the second cause of climate change. So I said, first of all, we have to feed the planet means fighting food waste and transform it into an amazing meal for people in need, And so I said, how can I do it? I started knocking at the door of all these people, politicians, things, but no one really answered. Till I arrived at the Archbishop of Milan Scola, that he said, Massimo, this is a great idea. Your miracle in Milan would be, we have to confront, because my idea was like rebuild Miracle in Milan from the Verismo Italiano, the movie from the 50s. And I said, come back in 1 week. And the week later, they share everything with Pope Francis, and Pope Francis said, this is a very good idea, but we have to bring it into the darkness, so in the most neglected neighborhood, not in the center of the city, because this is such a good idea that, because I immediately have my passion for art, design, architecture, said I want to involve all my friends, and to bring and to share beauty with these people. And so we concentrate in this beautiful theater from 1920 in Quartiere Greco. They were just it's the home of the refugees, the drug dealers. It's like incredibly challenged neighborhood. And But we start the process. We recreate an incredible environment, and with the help of the most influential chef in the world, we were like unloaded the track every day, bring all the food, the inevitable food waste from the Universal Exposition, and transform into amazing meals for schools and kids at lunchtime and for people in need in the evening, fragile souls. It was incredible, challenging thing outside the Universal Exposition. But in the beginning was kind of difficult, because they were seeing, all these guests, they were like looking at these cameras, because Canada, instead of doing a pavilion, they decided to invest a couple of million to follow us and create this movie that is shared with Netflix, Theater of Life. So the television, they were like very interested in what they were doing, and but in the moment they they understood that we were there for them and not about the camera. They opened their minds, and from there it was a party every night. It was one night I remember was like this guy from Senegal who brought his guitar. In that moment was like the big crisis for like all these migrants from Africa, because there was lots in all the train station. They were like migrant to north and going north, and actually some of them I met in London in the refectory that I opened the year after, and I call it refettorio, as the refettorio from the monks, like the soup kitchen, the food room in the monastery, with all these long tables, right. People, they were sitting one in front of the other. Everyone was at the same level. In the meantime, we were eating, and our restaurant has always been a small restaurant with big dreams. So the refettorio was like a small refettorio with big dreams. And I said, as soon as Leonardo da Vinci did 5 years ago in Milan, the Last Supper with this, I want to do it better, and so I involved all the most important artists, the Italian artists, to do things there and design, and the place is amazing. Now everyone during the design week, during the things, they go and they check and they visit them, and so it was an incredible success. This guy, brought the guitar that night, and instead of leaving that night, he started playing guitar, and everyone that was there started having a party, and we started creating, extra dessert, extra things, because it's not a classic soup kitchen. Is really, we use the power of hospitality that we use every day in our restaurants, and we serve, we welcome them. Buongiorno, come in. We take care of you, and we cook appetizer, pasta course, main course, dessert. That's why we need the chefs. They transfer their knowledge to the volunteers and transform food waste that, I keep calling food waste, but it's not food waste. It's food surplus, because we don't want the scrap from hotels and restaurants. We want the surplus food from our supermarket, right. Things. I remember in London one day that actually by chance Alain Ducasse was cooking there. They deliver 80 poules de braise from Whole Food London. We were all in shock. At the Universal Exposition, they were having a switch in the Japan pavilion, and one night they brought 150 kilos of black cod. I was like, insane.
Yeah.
That would have been wasted and burn it, and instead of transforming into incredible meals. Now, 8 years after, 9 years after the Universal Exposition, now we have 14 soup kitchens all over the world. We just opened the door for New York. For 1 year we did to go, and 14 soup kitchens in the world. And last year we rescued 950 tons of food, involving 108,000 volunteers and chefs, and serve 2,750,000 meals.
It's pretty extraordinary. That's amazing. Kaylin, a side note, will you text Dana and tell her move on without me? Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Massimo, I know that you have an incredibly special relationship with your son. Can we talk about him for a moment and what the work that you've done with your son and the organization?
Yeah, of course. Charlie is Charlie, and he's trouble. He's a kid with different abilities. He has a genetic syndrome, and but he's like he needs help, but he's like so focused and determined that he deserves at least a chance in life. So one day, 6-7 years ago, I was taking him to this afternoon session in an abandoned school in a small village outside of Modena. And when I walk in, this afternoon session was like 3 grandmothers, 1 butcher, retired butcher, and 5 kids as Charlie with need, and they were making tortellini. I was like, what the hell is going on here? They were like, these 5 kids in line, I saw the grandmothers, they were like rolling pasta, like this, the best pasta you can see. And they were cutting shapes in small squares. The butcher was like putting like the filling inside, and tortellini for us in Modena. So to understand, in Modena, if you don't believe in God, you can always believe in tortellini. So imagine how is for us the tortellini state of mind, So that's why in every restaurant that we open, I want to serve the tortellini. Right, Bernardo? Ready. Good.
I'm ready, chef.
Bravo. Good answer. Already ready. And these kids are very good on repetitive things, And they were doing this and they were doing this, and I was like in shock. I said, "Oh my God, this is incredible! This is like something that we have to do it." So I spoke with the mayor and I said, "Listen, thanks for the school, but we need to bring this project and involve this project because this is amazing." And so the mayor understood immediately the project, the mayor of Modena understood immediately the project, and gave us an abandoned space in downtown, very reachable, even walking distance, and in which we restored the first floor with, it was an apartment, and there is an apartment in which these kids, they can spend the weekend with the tutors, and they start getting independent. They can walk to that place, make pasta, sell the pasta, and make some money. A project in which the 2 most marginalized part of the society, kids with genetic syndrome, young adults with genetic syndrome, and grandmothers, old people. They were like usually abandoned in their apartments. They can finally tell the world the secret of the pesto of tortellini. Like, whoa, that's a big deal. And we start like that. from 5 kids and 2 grandmothers and a butcher. Now we are like 50 kids, 40 grandmothers, and so many people visiting, and we set up the example. Now they're opening, they already open an example like that in Puglia, another in Piemonte, in Turin, so in different. In Puglia it's called orecchiante. That means instead of tortellante with tortellini, is orecchiante because in Puglia they make orecchiette, and so they make the orecchiette by hand. As in Piemonte they make raviolini, so raviolante,
Does every region have a different pasta that they're famous for?
Every
Town?
small village,
Really?
in Italy it's like this. It's like, and that is better than the others. So we have to fight about everything. So don't worry. It's like this. We get used to, So it's like this project is becoming an example for everyone to how to think about, in a different way, and give the chance to the most marginalized part, like grandmothers or kids, to become the center of the society and keep the tradition alive. So now we opened just 6 months ago the Bottega with a beautiful shop, and there are companies like Ferrari, Maserati, Gucci, all the companies that I work with. They all want the tortellini, and once every month they serve as the meal for the workers. So thousands of kilos of tortellini. So now the kids, they start complaining because they have to work too much. The production is always sold out. Come on, guys, come on, make it more. It's too much. It's too much. We're tired.
I don't know. I think the work that you do with Charlie and watching him on social media is some of my favorite posts of yours.
It's cool.
So bravo to you.
But Michelle Obama, remember when she called me and she said, chef, we're going to do a series on Netflix about waffles emoji, and I want you to involve for the kids and teach them how to work with vegetables or not to be afraid of the mushrooms. I said, yeah, of course, Michelle, tell me what you want, I'm going to do it. Yeah, but I want you also with the eggs. And I said, yes, of course, what do you want? I'm going to show you with the broken egg, because Moji brought me a broken egg. We can make tortellini, and brought you to the project of Tortellante. So they were showing the whole project. Yes. But at the end she said, yes, but I want also, oops, I dropped the lemon tart. So come on, everybody knows about oops, I dropped the lemon tart. And
Does everyone know about that? Yes. Okay. So one of his famous desserts is oops, I dropped the lemon tart.
And she said, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, because oops, I dropped the lemon tart. It's extremely important for kids 2, 4, 6 years old. They're gonna watch you to make a mistake, to break the eggs, transform into an amazing broken tart, and not to be afraid growing up of making mistake, and transform a mistake in an opportunity to create the most amazing dessert in the world. This is like, and this was like 2020. So 10 years after, we did the dessert. So after 10 years, still thinking in a different way, how to communicate, mistakes and opportunities. This is
Chef, I know that sustainability is really important to you in your culinary philosophy.
Yeah.
How do you see it playing in, and with everything that you're doing, how do you continue to make sustainability such a priority for you?
Well, we just opened a new restaurant now called Gatto Verde. The American, they call Verde Gatto, right. The opposite, because the translation is green cat, right. So the Verde Gatto, and for the Italian is Gatto Verde. And I love it. Is Gatto Verde is in Casa Maria Luigia, and is a contemporary barbecue, and is much more. I say contemporary barbecue because it's much more than just a simple barbecue, and the first thing that we create is like it's such an incredible, you know, investment on environment. All our restaurants in Modena are certified zero waste. But to me, the most sustainable thing right now is, you know, the way you act with the team, the way be sustainable with the people, and that's why in 2020, when there was a big lockdown, first thing I imagined was like a dramatic scenario for like all our team. You know, imagine all this team, you know, locked in the apartments, you know, 20 years old. You know, it was like, so that's why I kept opportunities for them to come out and create and get solid and consolidate the team in Casa Maria Luigia when we were cooking in the weekend for nurses and doctors, and you know, I took care of the apartments, I took care of the expenses, water, gas, electricity. They all had the keys for the kitchen in the refectorio of Francescana, so they were like going out and meet together, you know, and cook together, you know. And the point is like, that's why before COVID in Modena we were 125 people working. Post-COVID now we are 210. We keep growing. No one wants to leave the team. Everybody wants to come and work for us because this is the way to be sustainable. Of course, in Gatto Verde we have the most avant-garde things to zero pollution. In a barbecue we have like a tank of 50 liters of water on top of the wood burn ovens, and they keep pollution at zero. We have recycle of the heat. We have all the ground floor outside that is microfilter. It's a brand new technique developed in Modena, imagine. And it's the first time that we are looking. It's a microfilter for the rain that goes directly into filter and goes directly into the tank, and we use for the irrigation of the environment. We have an incredible park in Casa Maria Luigia, and when we cut it we age all the wood, especially oak and very robinia, very strong and resistant wood that is perfect for barbecues or grill or giro rosto, Italian giro rosto. And we age. We have a space for age. You know, every single things that we do is a focus on create and shape a better future for everybody. So this is what we do. I feel the responsibility, but you know, after so many years, I can manage the responsibility very well. Especially, I think, is a sustainability for human being.
I think that really.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you weren't sitting here today being one of the greatest chefs in the world, if not the greatest, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. My father was very upset when I decided in 1983 to become a chef, because it's like I was giving, you know, I left everything, and you know, I was supported by my mama, and I became a chef. You know, instead of being a lawyer. Can you imagine me a lawyer? You know, no way, Jose. But yeah, could be. I think I know. I always listen I always read a lot, and I was reading about Bob Dylan one day, and he was like writing about the secret of success. Waking up in the morning, going to bed in the night, and in the meantime you do what you want to do. This is the secret of success. So it's not working, it's not even work. For us it's like this, it's like, having all the restaurants in Modena always fully booked, with amazing guests. They come from all over the world. They want to share joy and happiness with us. It's not work. It's like we are having fun every day. Meet amazing people. They want to help. That's why we call family, after here in Miami, I'm going to fly to San Francisco. All these guys from high-tech, they came to Maria Luigia. They went crazy. They read Hoffman from LinkedIn. He said, I want you to speak at Stanford. I want you to explain what you're doing, and we want to help you to expand the Food for Soul. It gets solid. This kind of stuff is like, I'll do it because I love to do. This is my passion. Probably I would do something on art or music, or be a racing pilot. I don't know.
So speaking of music, I hear that you are a big collector of vinyl records.
A big collector.
How did that, from childhood?
I was like, I told you, my home was like a big home. There was like garage for all the cars, and inside the garage, my older brother was like for Beatles, has his own garage band and playing the Beatles. The second one was for Rolling Stones, and they were playing on the other side, and like boom, and so music always been part of our family. And my mom was listening to the opera. We are from Modena, so imagine Pavarotti, Mirella Freni, the Corrare Rossini, Verdi, and that's why all my tasting menu are like opera. They're built like opera. With an overture, the adagio, and listen to the adagio, feel the adagio in your palate, the allegro, the minuetto, and the grand finale. This is very important. And but if you don't grow up like that, you cannot do it. Like breakfast. And that's why. Yeah. And so I, from the Beatles and Rolling Stones, and my third brother was like, it was in the middle between the first two and me and my sisters. And he started doing something different. He started listening to country and blues. And he was importing records from the United States, because at that time there was no importer from that kind of music in Italy. And he was importing himself. And from the blues to the jazz, the step is very easy. If you listen to Billie Holiday, how can you say it's jazz or blues? It's everything. It's like, it's this. And so I was listening. I was staying very close with my brother Paolo, and getting into this blues and country, but country like Johnny Cash, and that's the reason, because listen, once you reach jazz, you can't step back and go back to other. So that's why I start collecting, and it's been a long journey, since I bought the first record when I was 14. Now I have I'm sharing Casa Maria Luigia 8,000 vinyls for everyone. We have I have home almost 40,000. With 10,000 78s. But 78s not like that. Right. We have Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, all the Duke, the big bands, and in the 40s, first recording from Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, all that kind of stuff.
So there's a great new restaurant in town. Has anyone been to Delilah?
Yes.
And Delilah's a beautiful restaurant, and they have live music, which is not normal here. And they have the most. I was there a few times, and they've had this fantastic jazz singer, a beautiful black woman, and I went up to her the last time I was there. I think her name is Raquel. And I said, we've never had music at the tribute dinner. Never. We just don't do it. So I said to her, I don't care what it takes. I said, you need to be at this tribute dinner. I want your band to come.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Oh my God! This is a great. This is a great surprise. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I can't wait to meet her.
She didn't know me. She didn't know the festival. She didn't know you. But I said, you know what? You need to be at this dinner. And I just.
Oh my God! This is amazing.
She was so good that I actually turned around and said, "Who is that?" And then she's beautiful. I mean, I'm really excited that she's going to be there. You're also a big Bob Dylan fan.
Big Bob Dylan.
So I want you to know that I can't tell you how much.
Is Bob Dylan here?
He's not here. But if we could have gotten, we did reach to him. We tried to get him to do a video for you, and then we spent like days trying to find something really unique from Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know if it's authentic. I mean, none of it was authenticized.
Yeah.
So you're not getting a Bob Dylan gift. But I really did. We did try.
But I have a lot of friends in Sotheby's and Christie's. So when there's something special, out of the auction, I can get it.
I don't know that if everyone knows that the chef is opening up in Miami. Do you all know that? Yes.
We're going to open Torno Subito,
yes.
Inspired by a great artist called Maurizio Cattelan. Actually, I did this, I came out with this idea, talking with Bernardo, that I moved Bernardo in Miami because I care a lot about Miami. So I want Bernardo here as a chef. And we open in Dubai. So I said, Dubai, I don't want to open in Dubai. Who wants to open in Dubai? And at the end they convinced me to open in Dubai. How? And I never said, oh, I love Dubai. I hate Dubai. But don't record me, please. But the point was like, so how can we call this place? I want to do something special, in Dubai that is not like, no one can relate it to Osteria Francescana. Because if you think me bringing my food in Osteria Francescana in Dubai, they're gonna kill me. So I said, okay, I'm gonna have fun. And I'm gonna rebuild, my perfect place when I was young, so the Riviera, Fellini, Rimini, Fellini, La Dolce Vita, blah blah blah. And it took like 6 months to explain to them that it was not about gold, and it's not about diamonds, it's not about this, but it was about having fun, and colors and the beach, and then I opened and I said, how can I call it? I said, the art came to me, and Maurizio Cattelan, this incredible artist, a friend of mine who did the introduction of Never Trust a Skinny Chef, said he created this first show called Torno Subito, means I'll be back soon. Like a door of the gallery closed, no one could walk in. The classic sign from the Italian, store at 10:30, 11 in the morning. Torno subito, I'll be back soon. I have to have my espresso. I'll torno subito. So I said, I'm gonna steal the idea from Cattelan and call it Torno subito, I'll be back soon. So I'm gonna open, leave Bernardo there, and never go back. Wait for me, me. I'll be back soon. And I call it Torno subito.
I had a very similar experience. About 4 years ago, I had a call from the royal family in Dubai, which I didn't believe, and they wanted me to do a festival there. And I'm like, I am never going there.
Yeah.
I said, I have no desire, and they made it so worth my while that I took a meeting. And my worth the while was different from your worth the while. It was about money.
No, but you want to know the last Universal Exposition was all about big deal,
right.
Food waste, the things, and all climate change, and they decide to create a food bank.
Right.
Great idea, very new idea. and the food bank, and we signed as a hotel, as the first one who signed the protocol of food waste to bring all the surplus food into the food bank. And at the Universal Exposition, they were like the wife of the sheikh, you know, started with this new incredible idea of fighting food waste. You know, I said, listen, you know, we did that. They invited her to speak, and I said, yeah, but we were doing that at the other Universal Exposition. Yeah, but no one knows here, so let's do it.
Now, I tell you, I took that long plane ride, I got the cash, and I said, I'll be in touch, and that was it.
Yeah, but...
that was it. I knew I was never going back there.
No.
So, you're opening in Miami. Of all the cities in the United States that you could have opened in.
Yeah, no, we opened a Gucci Osteria in Los Angeles with Gucci. We have one in Tokyo, one in Seoul, one in Florence, and one in Los Angeles. Unexpected, because I didn't want to open restaurants where I have soup kitchen.
Right.
So New York, London, Paris, Milan, no. But Los Angeles, Tokyo could be very interesting with Florence and Seoul, and here in Miami. Yeah, I think the investors they came to Torno Subito in Dubai. They went crazy with the big wood burn oven in the middle of the restaurant. We were cooking everything there like that, making the right pasta, like real Italian, you know, like, and we were playing a little bit of jokes with them, you know. They come to me and they come to Bernardo, and they ask for pink sauce. Do you want pink pasta with pink sauce? I said, what the fuck is that, pink sauce? The pink sauce. And yeah, it's like tomato and cream, you know. It's like
So,
you know, so we are playing with you know, extraction of beet and make our own pig sauce and pretend it was tomato and cream.
So you've been here a few times in Miami. Have you been to any restaurants you enjoyed?
A lot. You know, a lot of restaurants. I have friends and things, but I cannot say one. Don't ask me that kind of question.
So, like, have you been?
You know,
like, have you been to some?
You know, they treat me they all treat me like even in the bars,
Right.
like one of the family. So it's like it's a big deal. You know, it feels very good. You know.
So, I was in Florence last weekend, and I was in this small restaurant. I'll think of it. And the waiter, I almost thought it was a joke. I thought it was like one of those TV shows. And I said, who do people tell you look like? And he kind of looked at me. I said, no one's ever told you? He says, yes, but you don't know him. I said, who? He goes, Massimo Bottura. I said, I'm telling you, he's coming. I had to take out my phone and show him. Yeah, it was extraordinary. I'm sorry I didn't take a photo of him. Chef, in wrapping up, because I know I've gone over my time with you and I've already missed something that I didn't want to do anyway.
Can you please text?
Yeah.
He's late.
Yeah. So, you know, I think you're younger than myself. Are you 54? 53, 54?
Me?
Yeah.
No, from 1962.
60. Oh, so we're not so. Yeah. Okay. You're not so much. You're 61? 62. Yeah. Okay, we're same age. Give or take a year or two or three. Of all the things that you've done in your life and that you're proud of, and what would be that one thing that you hope that you're remembered most for?
For sure that I have done, I think Food for Soul would be the things that really is gonna stay forever, because it was our example. My example was why German, Italy, France, they passed the law against food waste. And you know, I became a United Nations ambassador. We did so many incredible things. I think that is probably the most important one. Another things that I think that I did is like sharing and spread seeds. There are social seeds, and some seeds they become plants, more than plants, flowers. And so this is something very very, very important to see. Like imagine that, our chef at Gatto Verde with another woman that she was working Food for Soul, they opened AIW, for example, in Modena. And they opened this Association for the Integration of the Woman, putting together this, the single African ma'am in Modena. And another of the most fragile part of the society. And they teach these moms how to cook. They have a cooking school. And then they open Roots, a social restaurant, in which they can practice. And then after 6 months, they can be. And for example, Francescana family hire already 3 of these young African single mom. But all all these women, they already found a job, and they become part of the society. So these things are extremely important for me to see, because when I travel in Los Angeles and I met with Vanessa, Tamara, Mattia, they're working there, they go to Skid Row, they are treated like part of the family. They're teaching all the volunteers how to cook in their day off. This is what really give me a lot of great vibe, great energy, and I'm proud of.
Oh. The last question I had to ask, if you could only drive one car, what would it be?
The next one.
The next one.
Yeah. I was just for the. No, I can't say that.
One car. You have to drive one car.
Of course.
They're not here. It's staying here.
You should tell them about the Ducati. That's a big deal. We did Pico Bagnaia 63. World champion, unique, but that's why I got the operation. I'm here after, 41 days after the operation. They replaced all my hips and bones and things, because I felt, once, because I thought I could do surf at the Hawaii and the waves smashed me on the beach. And I was like, wow, a chiropractor put me on, but this was 25 years ago. Then I felt on a motorcycle always on my right side, so I had to replace my hip. And I feel perfect, but I did it just because I didn't want to stop riding my Ducatis. Because my Ducatis, when I put my helmet and I'm completely down and out, and I want to get, everything out of my being, I go up on the heels of Modena and, getting down and here and there, swinging like this. This is like the way to leave everything out. And yeah, that's probably.
Well, when I come to visit you this summer, I hope I can ride a Ducati with you.
Yeah, like Michael he's crazy about motorcycle. Mm-hmm. He said, I want to buy some Parmigiano. Yeah, get the backpack, get the Ducati, go. As Stanley Tucci, it was like, no, I can't drive that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, we're going by car. Okay, but convertible. Okay, let's go. And then at the first, speed, it was like, okay, stop. I'm not feeling very well, like you driving this kind of stuff. All right. So.
Well, Chef, I started by saying this, and I will end by saying this. It's really one of the great honors of my career to have you back to honor you this evening. I just think it's, when I started this festival 23 years ago, to think that we would have honored chefs like Alain Ducasse and Ferran Adria and now Massimo Bottura is something I would have never dreamt of. So thank you for coming in, and thank you for your time.